Hey guys, welcome back to another video in the r/entitledpeople subreddit. I have two stories for you today. The first involving an entitled aunt who thinks she's hosting repo games or something because she literally tries to steal and take possession of her nephew's house. And the second story involving an entitled Karen who doesn't believe that OP's friend is blind, so Karen gets an eyeful to say the least. Entitled aunt demands to live in my new house and won't take no for an answer. I teach her a lesson. This all took place 5 years ago, so some parts may not be verbatim, but I'll do my best to recount this story I think you will enjoy. At this time, I had just purchased my first house, but told no one about it. I wasn't even dating at this time. It was a huge 3-bedroom townhouse, well outside of the nearest city, and it came with 10 acres of land. It wasn't long before my entitled aunt found out and apparently made plans to move in and live there, despite the fact I hadn't even moved in yet. It wasn't long before I got a call from her. First thing out of her mouth on this call was, "Make sure I have a key when I arrive and move in." I'm like, "Excuse me? Move in?" "Yes, I'm going to live there and I'll allow you to live there too, as long as you don't cause issues and get loud." I told her, "No, you're not moving into my house and will be thrown out if you try." "I'm packing my stuff now," she said as if my word was meaningless, "and I'll be there first thing tomorrow and you had better have my key in hand then." As a result, I called the cops, who put me in touch with the local sheriff's department. I explained what was going on, so they told me they would have a patrol check on the property from time to time and run off anyone that was not supposed to be there and would arrest those that refused to leave. As it turns out, my entitled aunt tried to go to the property that night and drop some of her stuff off, but was caught by the patrol and told to leave. When she said it was her house, they told her no, it wasn't, and the owner does not want anyone on his property, having to threaten to arrest her if she refused to leave. She called my phone within an hour at about 11 p.m. and started yelling about the sheriff running her off, and I just hung up on her and unplugged my phone for the night. I got up about 4 a.m. that morning and plugged my phone in and found my message box full of repeated messages from her about how dare I not answer my phone and have her run off from her house. Yes, she actually said her house. Later that morning, I called the sheriff again and requested an officer be there at the house just in case she came back and arranged a time for my arrival. On my arrival, a sheriff met me at my house. It was less than 30 minutes until my entitled aunt arrived with a carload of her personals and immediately walked up to me and demanded her key. "You're not getting a key and you're not living here, no matter what you think." She blew up at this point and started shouting how it was her house and she was going to live there whether I wanted her to or not. I just smiled, closed the door, and locked it in front of her. She, of course, tried to grab the keys from me, which I simply put in my pocket and told her, "Tell that to the sheriff standing behind you." "Bullcrap, you're not keeping me out of my house." I looked past her and said, "See, what did I tell you?" At that, a loud from behind her. "Ma'am, you have to leave the property or you will be arrested for trespassing." She turned with a sour look on her face, getting ready to unleash another tirade on whoever was behind her, and instead made a strangled sound and her face went white as a sheet. "Ma'am, this man does not want you on his property. As of now, you're considered trespassing and will be arrested if you refuse to leave and cease harassing this gentleman. Before you go, Auntie," she hates when I call her that, "just because you want something does not mean you're going to get it, such as my new house. If I ever see you on my property again without my permission, I will have you arrested and have your car towed at your expense." If looks could kill, I'd be dead several times over from the glares she was giving me. Better yet, you're not going to be allowed to come here again, and I don't care if you become homeless or how badly you need a place to live. Now leave before you get arrested and have to pay to get your car back after it gets towed. She left, giving me the bird on her way to the car, prompting a sharp rebuke from the sheriff. To this day, she has been going around telling anyone that will listen about how I robbed her of her new house and how she's going to get her house back someday. That's going to be a problem for her, since then I have improved the property and sold it for a tidy profit to a really nice but takes no crap couple, and bought a new property with more acreage, about 25 more acres, and no one is telling her I moved. She did try sneaking back onto the property about 3 months after I sold it, and the couple's husband nearly shot her because she came at around midnight, I think on intending to try and sneak in through an open window or something. This time, she did spend about 30 days in jail, 100 hours community service, and 3 years probation plus fees, and court costs for trespassing on private property and attempting to enter a private residence without permission. Her entitlement knew no bounds, and having a gun pointed at her was harsh, but ultimately a necessary lesson after learning she was not getting her way with me. From what I'm told, she's calmed down some but still acts entitled and is actively trying to find out where I live. Oh my, that woman is absolutely delusional. I looked in the comments to see if I could get more insight on this entitled aunt, like perhaps she has some sort of illness, but all OP states is, she has been entitled since I was little. You should see how she treats restaurant workers. She's single, having been divorced due to her entitled attitude. After that, she only got worse and depends on being able to bully her way into getting what she wants. And she goes absolutely bat crap when she can't get her way. Has gotten herself permanently banned from several local stores for harassing other shoppers, thinking they work there when they do not, and never ever apologizes when she's wrong. Which to me sounds like she has a personality disorder, but the difficult thing with personality disorders, especially ones of the narcissistic variety, is that the person with this type of disorder doesn't think there's anything wrong with them or any issue with how they're acting. I'm also jumping to conclusions, and the aunt really could be that entitled and crazy without any underlying conditions, and if that is the case, yikes. Entitled person accuses blind girl of being able to see, gets handed an eyeful. I was reminded of this incident yesterday during a phone call with a friend from my college days. For a little background, my friend, I'll call her Jill, and I were both about 20 at the time of the incident in 1983. Do the math, and yes, I'm that old. Because Jill was blind, ocular melanoma, important later, she had an advocate. There's another name for this, but for the life of me, I can't think of what it is, but you get the idea, that went everywhere with her on the university campus. They made sure she made it safely to and from each of her classes and assisted her with test taking, etc. We met when Jill walked by my table in the student union hall, bumped my coffee, and spilled it all over both of us. We've been friends ever since. Because Jill lived off campus with her parents and I lived in an off-campus apartment a few blocks away, I drove every day to school. We coordinated our class schedules so that I could drop her off to her advocate in the morning, and in the afternoon, the advocate would bring her to me and I would take her home. This one particular semester, Jill's last class on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday ended an hour before mine. Normally, her advocate would hang out with her in the student union hall to wait for me. Since it was Friday, Jill insisted that the advocate bring her to the building where I had class, and she would just wait there for me, and the advocate would go home a little early. This was something Jill did occasionally just to be nice. I always took the same route out of the building and knew to be on the lookout for her. This day, Jill was in her usual spot in the lobby. She was sitting on the floor, with her back against the wall, her cane folded beside her, tinted glasses on, and appearing to stare straight ahead. To Jill's left were the lobby doors about 30 feet away. Jill thinks she'd been sitting there for about 50 to 55 minutes when she heard what sounded like squeaky wheels rolling over the floor. She didn't bother to call out and just thought it was maybe the janitorial staff with those mop buckets on wheels getting an early start on mopping. Then she heard someone push the panic bar on one of the lobby's double doors and the wheels banging over the metal threshold. A moment later, a woman's voice filled the empty lobby. The conversation that ensued is to the best of Jill's and my memory. What the hell is wrong with you young people? Never in my life have I seen so many inconsiderate brats. I'm sorry? And you should be, young lady. You could see that I needed help with this hand truck, an upright metal thing with 2 wheels and a small base to put heavy stuff on to move it from one place to the other, but you just sat there and did absolutely nothing. Didn't anyone teach you manners? I didn't see you. How could you not see me? I'm the only other person here. I'm sorry, but I didn't see you. I'm blind. You really expect me to believe that? Blind people can't go to college? You're just too lazy to get off the floor. Yes, ma'am. I am blind and I can go to college. What's going on? Classes are letting out and students are beginning to leave or change classes. This girl expects me to believe she's blind. She is. That's a load of crap. Prove it. The woman walks up to Jill and takes the tinted glasses from her face. See? She directs this to the students who were hanging around to watch the drama, as if she expected them to agree with her or take her side. She can see. There's nothing wrong with her eyes. She's not really blind. As I stated earlier, Jill had ocular melanoma. As a result, her eyes were surgically removed and she was fitted with prosthesis that looked real at a quick glance but didn't move like normal eyes and were a bit flat in their color. It was kind of like looking into the eyes of a very old doll. However, the best part of Jill's eyes, they were removable. Jill reached up, popped one eyeball out, and held it out to the woman. Here, look through this and tell me if you can see anything. Oh my god! Oh my god! The woman backed away from us so fast, she tripped over either her own feet or those of gathering students, landed on her butt, and continued to scoot away. When she got to the door, she pulled herself up, grabbed her hand truck, and left. Jill maneuvered the eye back into the socket. The small crowd of students started clapping and laughing, and a few gave Jill a pat on the back. So much for that lady seeing through my eyes, huh? Jill is my spirit animal. I love that she popped out her prosthetic eye to prove that she was blind, which she shouldn't have had to prove that she was blind anyways, but I love that she did, and that's exactly how I would have handled the situation if I were in her shoes, with sarcasm and poise. Anyways, I do hope you enjoyed those 2 entitled people stories. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I truly appreciate when you do, and I will see you in the next Reddit stories. Bye!